Texture resolution. In this video you will understand that resolution will control the level of detail at a particular distance from an object. You'll realise when a texture is either too large or too small. We'll be learning about the power of 2, POT, and why and when it is important. So let's have a look at the power of 2. Well, computers work with ones and zeros, or binary, and a lot of external programs like power of 2 textures. They aren't necessary these days, but are a good standard to adhere to, especially when working with external programs. And a common misconception, they don't have to be square, providing the side lengths are a power of 2. So what numbers are a power of 2? Well, mathematically they'll be 2 to the power of n, or for example here 2 to the power of 5 is 32. Now if you've been around computers for a while, you will recognise this particular sequence with 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc, etc. And those are all numbers that are power of 2. So you'll often see textures that would, in the past, would have been even 128 by 128 or even smaller. But you can use any combination of these. So you could, in theory, use 512 by 64 if it was a very long texture that you were making, perhaps a wall or something like that. Now, in general, you probably don't want to go higher than the next one up that you can't see there, which would be 4096, just simply because you'll run out of memory if you make them too large. So that is something to bear in mind. So let's go explore this now and hop straight on over into Blender. Right, so over in Blender, we are currently focused on the pillar top just here. So, and we can see that we've selected in multiple locations, and we've got the UV unwrap that we've already done. Now, let's first think about the size of image and where this particular part of the model, this object, is in our scene. Now, if we switch around here to the camera view that we've got going, arguably, I don't think we're going to be seeing many of these pillar tops. Let's just go here and enable the other modifiers. So from our particular camera view, or in fact most camera views that you're going to be, unless you're flying around this scene, they're going to be quite a way away. So we can afford to have a lower quality texture because they're naturally going to be far away. And of course, if we were modelling the floor at this point, where you're always quite close to it, that would have to be a bit more detailed. So I'm going to open up the UV image editor once more. Now, in order to create a new image, well, there's a nice big button down at the bottom, and if we go ahead and click that, it gives us some options for the new image. So the name here, well, I'm going to go ahead and call this test image. Test image. Now you can see the width and the height already by default is a power of 2, so 1024 there. And I'm going to actually decide on a slightly smaller one for this. I'm going to go to 512 here because it's so far away. I'm going to leave the alpha channel turned on for the moment. Colour, now this is going to be the base colour of what the image is going to be. In this case black, but you can set any colour that you want to set. I might just set, there you go, a grey colour. That's absolutely fine. And now when we click OK, you can see it looks like we zoomed in slightly. We haven't. The UV map has gone ahead and filled our texture. And this is essentially a diffuse texture that we can now apply to our model, and it will colour it in this colour. And if we start adding small details to these, then they would also apply to our model. And we'll deal with that in a few moments' time, but not in this lecture. Of course, at the moment, the image itself isn't actually saved anywhere, and we can see that because on the header bar itself for the UV image editor, we have a little star against the image. So if we go ahead and save that now, and save as image, and do save it in an appropriate location. Now, I could call this just test image for the moment, however, that is not rich enough. I need to be able to look at these and work out as what is actually going on. So what can we do? Well, we need to give it a type first. So we can call it an object. So I'm going to call it test image for the moment. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to make sure there's a space between those. Now I am going to create primarily square things. So I'm going to put 512 to actually tell someone just looking at the file name what size that image is. Along its longest edge, that should be absolutely fine. Now you could put 512 by 512 or 512 by 256 or whatever size you decide to pick. And what else information can we give here? So this is going to end up being our diffuse texture. It's going to replace the color setting that we've picked in the material before. So I'm going to call this diffuse, if I can spell diffuse correctly. One day I will get that right. D-I-F-U-S, diffuse. So now we've got the name of what it is, what the size is, and of course what type it is. So later on that might say 512 bump or 512 normal or 512 specular. There's lots of different types of map that we can do, and it's very important that anybody looking at a list of textures understands what they are and how they're being used. And if we name them appropriately, so if we then had another one that was test image 512 normal, they would all be grouped together as well. Now, up to you really how you store your textures together. I mean, you could have a folder for every model that you create, and inside that you'd have a folder for every single texture that's associated with that model. But that, of course, breaks down if you have a wider texture base. If you want to reuse textures amongst other things, you'd end up with duplicates of textures. So you could end up with a folder just called textures and a very descriptive name of what it is. There's lots of ways of organizing this, and different places, if you go to work at different places, will have different standards as well as to how they want you to store your assets. In general, I would say when you're doing this course, certainly, that keeping all of the textures together just with descriptive names for the projects, because they're not that big, is absolutely fine. And then if you do need to reuse it, you can always reference it later on and pick it up from that location. So I'm going to go ahead now and save as image, and now I've done that, the star goes away. And of course, now that we've saved it on the computer, we can edit it in external editors if we want, and that is very, very powerful. Now, Blender itself does come with some basic image editing tools. We're not going to play with them just yet, but we will be in a few moments. But before we go ahead, rush ahead and do that, I've got a challenge for you guys. I would like you to go ahead and create some more images. So in your UV image editor, create a new image with a power of 2 scale for each section of the pillar. Think about how close we're going to get to this, and of course adjust the texture size accordingly. Give the image a useful name so you know what it is, and then save the image in an appropriate location on your computer. Pause the video now and give that a go. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's go and create the other images we need for the rest of our model. Right, so we have the pillar base and the pillar section left to do. And indeed, I should probably change this test image to actually what it is, which is the pillar top. So I'm going to go File, Save as Image, and I'm just going to change the beginning of this to pillar top. There we go. So that's what that one is. Let's go ahead and the section. Now the section goes from the bottom all the way up. So now I'm in the pillar section. I can go into edit mode and it will show this. Now we could use the same image over again, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to go ahead and go to image and new image. And I'm going to call this one pillar section because that is what it is. It's going to be 1024 and I'm going to call it diffuse. Okay, so the width and the height, we're going to set that at 1024 and the next one at 1024 as well. And looking down here, I'm happy with everything else and I'm going to click OK. So that's that texture done there. I'm going to go File and Save as Image, Pillar Section 1024 Diffuse. So that's absolutely fine. It's taken the name as I've named it when first created, which is a good idea to do anyway, so you're not changing things. Then finally, we've got the pillar base, so I'll go to that. I will go into edit mode. I'll go Image, New Image, and call this one Pillar base, and again this one's going to be quite close to us, so I'm going to go for 1024 and diffuse. There we go. I'm going to click OK. I'm happy with it all being grey for the moment. We can change that later on. The final thing we need to do, of course, is go to Image, Save as Image. I've already got everything else in place. So pillar base 1024 diffuse. So that's nice and descriptive as what it is. Excellent. How did you guys get on? Please share in the discussions, and I will see you guys in the next lecture. Take care.